Our guest on the show today is Rita Barney. She's the owner and chef of Cafe Parity in Woodward, Oklahoma. And Rita says Cafe Parity provides a home away from home where comfort, belonging, and community settle in. And today we're talking how becoming a chef changed communities. So welcome to the show, Rita.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
It's our pleasure to hear your story. So tell us more from where you're coming from. You're in Oklahoma. So how did you grow up? How did your story start?
I grew up on a 10-acre plot that my dad was so progressive before his time that, a good half of this 10 acres was a garden. And at the time, I hated it. It's like, it was just like, all I heard about was fruits and vegetables and how to prepare them, how to preserve them without preservatives and yada, yada, yada. And then I thought that when I would get out and on my own, then I could finally get canned vegetables. But, it's like once I learned how important it was for our bodies to eat the right kind of food, and it was just in my soul from a little girl. So yeah, that was kind of my beginning. Is like I pulled weeds in the garden. I helped my mom do all the prep work. So food really from the beginning has just been my thing. And it's funny, I didn't even know it at the time.
Okay. Because one of the shows, a couple of shows back, I talked to somebody who says, remember the time where mac and cheese was like the bomb to eat? And I was like, oh yeah, this was like when all this packaged food came out. We were so excited, like you said, canned vegetables, yay!
Well, when I was like in early grades, I'd go to a friend's house for dinner, and they would have packaged macaroni and cheese or Chef Boyardee spaghetti sauces and canned green beans that didn't have any color. And I was so excited. I'd come home. It's like, why can't we eat normally, Mom? But I'm glad we didn't. I'm glad we didn't now.
But you didn't become a chef right away. You did something else first. You had 2 children, right?
I had 3. I had 3 children.
So how old are they now?
They are 42, almost 41, and 37. So you're making me kind of talk about how old I am. But, I was awfully young when I had them. So...
We're all in the same boat. We're in midlife, and we're anywhere between 40 and God knows what, but we're not aging as our grandmothers used to age. So age is just a number at this point.
Exactly.
So you didn't become a chef right away. What happened first? So you had your kids and you did something different.
Well, I was a mom, and I went to cosmetology school, and so I was a hairstylist and owned hair salons for 25 years. And then we bought an old home, an old inn boarding house, and restored it. And then I ran a bed and breakfast and did hair. Still did hair, but ran the bed and breakfast. And I started doing really high-end dinner parties and really kind of just going off the cuff from what my mom had taught me and what I knew about fresh. And these guests would come in and they go, we don't want to go out to dinner. Will you cook for us? So I began to have that passion to learn more about the culinary world. And that was about the time that the Food Network really, really took off, so I felt like I was married to it part-time, learning from that. And then we ended up, because, it's usually the kids that fly from the nest. Well, when our 3 kids all got out of school, we left Oklahoma and went to Dallas, Fort Worth. And morning, super early, my husband went to work, and I was watching the morning show, and this advertisement for culinary school came up. And so I just thought, well, call them. So I called them, and they had 1 spot left. Classes started the next day, and they said, can you come in for an interview? And I absolutely did. And when my husband got home from work, I said, guess what? I'm a culinary student now. So he laughed because that was kind of the norm for our marriage anyway.
So going back to again, you know what you said about you cooked at your bed and breakfast and people rather come to you. It sounded like what's called now the I just had it the farm to table. You already made farm to table fashionable even back then without giving it the name as it has now. So that's very interesting. Why did you pick French food?
You know, I don't really know. I know that the flavors are so complex and they're so fresh, and the French people eat so differently than what Americans, the average American does, that it just, the French layer their flavors, and we tend to use like a crock pot and just dump everything in. But French cooking takes a lot longer to cook because those flavors are layered in there. And to me, there was just something, number one, probably a challenge to that. And number two, it was intriguing how we could elevate the flavors just by the way that we went about preparing the meal.
Yes.
So, yeah, because I was almost 50 when I enrolled in culinary school.
So how many years did it take you to finish the school?
Well, I just took 1 year.
Okay.
Number one, it was never my plan to work for somebody else. I just wanted to get some experience fast and then I'm kind of a realist and a purist both at the same time, that I wanted to know that I earned that piece of paper, the certification. So I took the shortest class that was offered because I knew that I was going to open my own cafe anyway. So let's just learn what we can. And besides, it's like I wasn't 20 when like most of the students, 20, 25 was the average age of the students there. So yeah, I wanted to get my cafe open as fast as I could.
So back then you already had the idea of opening a cafe or a restaurant in Texas.
I did. And, I toyed with the idea, but I didn't really think it was probably, I didn't know how deep the roots went. Let's put it that way, because I'm a big dreamer anyway. So, and my bucket list is so big that, and then some of them come to fruition and some don't, and some I just marked through and thought, well, that was a passing thought, so, but yeah, that just continued to grow, I guess.
So you moved back to Oklahoma. Why?
Because 2 out of 3 of our kids were here, okay. Number one. And, life, if you just listen to your soul, life has a way of working out. I came back to Oklahoma. Sorry, my fellow Oklahomans, but I really came back from Texas kicking and screaming. I was not a happy camper because I love Dallas-Fort Worth. And I guess I married a farmer rancher. And okay. So he's very rural and very content to be out with the cattle and working in the earth. Me, I like city lights and theater, and that's what I was getting in Dallas-Fort Worth. But back to your question, life just took us there, brought us back here, and we knew we belonged back here, even though that I was mad about it. But shortly after that, we had a granddaughter born, and we were totally excited about that. And then she developed childhood cancer as a toddler. And so that just showed us that, yeah, we came back for a purpose, even though we didn't really understand, because she fought a really hard fight for 5 months, and then she went to heaven. So that, I guess, in a nutshell, was the reason that we needed to be back here, and we didn't even know it at the time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry to hear that. That must be so hard to lose such a little munchkin.
It was hard. It was hard, but life goes on, and we all have losses, don't we? Of some kind. Yeah. So you just learn to deal with each day and be very brave in that.
Yeah.
And I think that probably that's what may even push me further, because I'd only been open, my cafe had only been open like six or 8 weeks when she was diagnosed with that. So at the end of her life, that was kind of a push, a throttle that I knew that I had to make it work in her memory, if nothing else.
Yeah. Now, the Cafe Parity, how did that name come about?
Well, back to my granddaughter, her name was Eden. And so we named the Cafe Eden. And then I decided that I wanted to go ahead and get that name trademarked. But then, there was legal obstacles. So I ended up having to rename it. And so then I chose Cafe Parity, which is a synonym of Eden. It is really an English paradise. So paradise are synonyms, and then I just put the French twist to it and call it Cafe Parity.
Oh, how fun. Now, do you speak French?
I can read French menus.
I think that's the more important part.
One of these days, I'm going to learn French. That's on the bucket list, I guess.
Good. So now, what is one of your favorite dishes to cook? Just if you were to pick one dish, what would it be?
Beef bourguignon. I love bourguignon. It's just so delicious.
Oh my God. I mean,
it takes days to do that, but in the winter, I make it. Yeah.
Yep. My husband makes a killer beef bourguignon. And I was like, he's like, do you want some? And I'm not the chef in our house. He's the chef. And I'm going, yep, I help drink the wine. Don't worry about it. But he makes it. Yep.
Oh, I'd love to taste some of his sometime. I bet it's delicious.
Oh, it's so good. And he bakes it in the oven, and you know all about this. Now, you started first at the Cafe Parity. First was a restaurant, you said, like a sit-down white tablecloth place, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And then what happened?
Well, and most of you, and I'm sure that you'll understand this, that you start getting an unrest in your soul, that you know that there's something else that you should be doing. And I was having a hard time finding somebody that I really trusted to help me with the cafe anyway, and help me run it like I knew that it really should be ran. So this last January, I made the huge decision to turn it just into a coffee shop.
Okay.
So I'm full service coffee shop, all the fancy drinks and right down to just a good black cup of coffee. So
Do you bake anything for the customers?
I do scones, and I have an heirloom cookie that has been in my family for years that is a huge seller. And I make, now that it'll be summer, and I'll make lemon tarts and rice pudding, So I really love, I have a sweet tooth, so I would rather do desserts anyway. So it's all good. So now I have more time to pursue some other things instead of just totally working 10 to 12 hours a day in the cafe.
Yeah, I would not want to own a restaurant. My hat's off to you. It really is, I would say, a 24-hour job. You're always on, and I agree with you. Who can you trust? I mean, nobody can make the food as good as you do, even if you train them, I think, sometimes.
Exactly. Exactly. It was really hard because I had birthed that from the beginning, and I just really struggled with that. But when I made that leap January 1, then I just cut it off. Yeah. And now we're restructuring.
But you won an award for your coffee.
I did.
Tell us all about this reward, because it comes with a amazing story, guys. You'll be blown away what Rita Barnes out in Oklahoma does. that you would never imagine that this little woman over there who's so talented chef and all kinds of things does what she does with her coffee?
In our community, we have every January and February, the city votes for the best this, the best that. Anyway, I got voted the best cup of coffee in Woodward. And yeah, I was kind of honored. We are not in a huge metroplex, but it's very honored because I know that I do have the very best. Most of my coffee comes from Haiti, and then I do get some from an estate in the Dominican, but I think the coffee that helped me win that blue ribbon was my Haitian dark roast.
Now, this is, guys, you need to know, and Rita, of course, shared this before me. That's why we had to talk about this on the podcast. Rita just didn't order coffee, but Rita did the following.
I went to Haiti with my roaster. I've met my farmers. We have had meals together. We've laughed together. I've climbed the sides of the mountains and have eaten the berries from the plants. And it is so surreal and probably the most exciting thing that I've done individually ever in my life. And I was supposed to have gone back last month, but the country is so under and just so restless right now with lots of writing and stuff that trip has been postponed. But I look so much forward because I just, when you go to a coffee house and you sit down, you either have your latte or just your black or your Americano or whatever. Most people don't stop to think that a real person takes time and effort and hard work and have sleepless nights while they're growing those beans. We just have it so easy that we go to either the coffee shop and buy their beans, or we go to, a market and buy ground and we sit down and we drink and we never think about it. But these are real people that are trying to make a living doing this. And I'm just it is such a passion for me because I know how hard I work and I know how hard my husband works being a farmer rancher, that it takes to produce anything for people to be a part of their dietary, daily life.
So basically what Rita is doing, she's doing a fair trade deal with her coffee in Haiti, correct?
Well, it is more a direct trade. And that's another story for another day, but a direct trade is where there's nobody between, there's only one person between me and the coffee farmer, and that is the young man that I know personally goes over there and buys them. And what he's doing is teaching these farmers a better way to grow and helping them learn to breed the plant so then they will be stronger and will not be susceptible to a disease. So that would be direct trade because you're paying more per pound for direct trade, but you're also helping the families that are getting what the bean is really worth. If the bean was worth a little bit, well, then that's what I would pay. Mm-hmm. But coffee is so delicious and it's such a quality bean that why would I want to pay less per pound for that and cheat them, and then where they can't make a living for their own families?
I think this is such a great community outreach. And when you shared that story with me first, I was just blown away by your generosity and also your deep thinking about what other people need in different communities. And that's why our title for today, how you help those different communities grow and flourish. But one thing, I want to change direction just a little bit. You got a ton of tattoos. You got a sleeve. And young chick, you said I can say this on the podcast.
Yeah, I almost wore a sleeveless shirt today just because, but I didn't.
So the people who see the video, which of course we have, you will not see Rita's sleeve, but you go on her Instagram account, Rita Barnes, and you will find, you can see some of her tattoos. So when did you start getting your first tattoo and why?
Right when I was in culinary school, I got my first one. And that it was just a little bracelet, a little tattooed bracelet. And then another part of my journey unfolded. And so it's like, okay, now I need that. And then so every little bit when something really was significant that happened in my life, then I added to, and before you know it, I've just got a full sleeve now. So, and I love it. I totally love it. And I'm not even going to promise you that I won't start on the other arm. Who knows?
Who knows? Because, I mean, you may be in the pro or the against camp. I have tattoos as well, as I shared with Rita, and she was all like, what? And I said, yeah, my tattoos are a little bit hidden, so most people don't see them unless I'm in summer clothes or out running. But it's like Rita does. I share a journey through my tattoos, and when I saw her sleeve, and we prepared for the interview today, she's like, look, this is this, and look, this is this, and it just warmed my heart, and I'm like, yep, your tattoos tell a story.
Yeah, they do. Because, I'm all about the story anyway.
Yep. But that brings me to the next question. You have an incredible amount of energy and positivity. Where the heck did you get that, Rita? Or how do you get it?
I think that it just comes from when you go through poo, when you go through stuff, you have two choices. You either embrace that and accept that and learn from it, and then allow yourself to grow and help other people along, or you just stay on the couch and you feel sorry for yourself, and then you get nowhere. So between the tenacity that I got and Christ, that was just a marriage within itself to help me get going again. And back to one of my tattoos, I have a quote that I know that I heard in my heart that my granddaughter had said after she passed, and it is those kind of things that is a reminder that you can't quit living because bad things happen to you. Yeah. What you do is like embrace your story and go, how can I help society? How can I help my community or my friends or even people on my wonderful friends on Instagram? How can I help them? Because we all are going to go through poo. We're not always going to be like on Instagram, everything looks so romantic and so beautiful, and you have all these filters, and yes, I use them too, but that's not realistic. The real life sometimes sucks. Yeah. And so I had to make that decision one day when I was having a meltdown after Eden died, and I didn't want to open the cafe anymore. And I was just like, I'm totally done. This my life here sucks. And it was like, I knew within seconds, it's like, this is the turning point. You get up, put your big girl panties on, and help lead other women going through poo, or you can just wither at the vine or wither, on the vine. And I chose the former. So that's why I do what I do, because life is rough sometimes.
Yeah. Is this where your stories come from? Because you say you are a storyteller, and all the things that I've read that you have written, you are a storyteller. But is this where your stories come from?
Absolutely. I'll never make anything up. I'm not the kind of person that can read a book and then teach somebody else's teaching. It's like if I'm going to do any platform teaching or anything, then I have any public speaking, I guess is what I'm trying to say, then I have to tell my story and teach from where I'm at and where I was, not from somebody else's experience. I can glean from other people's writings, but I have to tell my own story to help those certain amount of women that can connect and go, oh my goodness, I get it, I understand.
Yeah. Is that how Coffee Talk was created?
It is.
Tell us more about
it is.
Coffee Talk. What is Coffee
Well,
Talk?
Coffee Talk is a women's support group. I've tried to come up with a fancy name for it, like something kind of sophisticated, but I invite women, any woman is welcome inside my Red French door for coffee. I make a really simple dinner or supper, and we start talking, and things unfold, and women's hurts come out, and sometimes their celebrations or their loss or their divorce or just anything, because it's a safe place where women can be vulnerable and they don't have to worry that somebody's going to run out and start yapping or look down on them because they didn't live a perfect life. It is just a safe space to get your sadness out in the open so then you can begin to heal. Because I'm not an expert. I'm not a life coach. I don't have, I just have a space and a listening ear, and I like to talk.
And I know you shared with me that people come from like 30 miles away to Café Parity to the Coffee Talk.
They do. Yeah, they do. And I hope to grow it. I hope that maybe my journey will take me into other communities or other states. I have got a new logo, which I'm so super excited about. It's on Instagram, the logo, and I'm ordering t-shirts, and we're going to have all kinds of things, like I'm working on that brand right now to actually brand Coffee Talk, and where it will be known when somebody sees that, well, then they'll go, there, I've read something about that on Instagram. Yeah.
Nice. I like that. We women, everybody, men as well, need a community where they can share without fear of repercussions or fear that somebody will be saying something negative about someone's experience, but be supportive and help each other blossom and be the best person that we can be with that support.
Absolutely. We all need people. We were born to need people, I believe, and when we have a tribe that we can trust, then I think that it is so much healthier, not only emotionally, but it affects us physically.
Yeah. Yeah. I just took a course this weekend, and one of the mottos or one of the sayings was, we can do more together.
Oh, wow. That is it. That's what Coffee Talk is all about right there. You said it in just those few words. Yeah.
Because it struck me, because there was a group of about 30, 40 people there, and whatever came up was like, we can do more together. And it always proved in all the exercises we did, and every little exercise that we had to do amongst each other as a group, we could do always more together. And so I love the idea of your Coffee Talk.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So now, what are 3 tips that you would give women in midlife that don't know how to start something new or are afraid of starting something new? What will be 3 tips for somebody starting or wanting to start something new?
All things are possible. And if the seed is in your heart, then throw fear aside or do it in fear. I mean, I know that those are all cliches. Everybody's heard them, but I mean, it sounds words. It's like you do it anyway, because I really didn't, when I had the idea of starting Coffee Talk, I didn't even like to work with women because, women just are really hard. I would rather work with men they're just easier. Men are just easier. And I had to work through my fear of working with other women. Because even in culinary school, I worked with mostly men because culinary school is a man's world. So then here I am, all I could think about is starting Coffee Talk. I'm like, but it's women. It's women, you know? so don't be afraid, you know, because if I would have stopped there, well, then we wouldn't be taking so much ground here if I would have been afraid, or if I wouldn't have pursued, even though I was afraid. So do it, even in fear. Find your tenacity in something, and whatever. I don't care if it's a teeny, teeny, teeny little seed that won't go away in your heart, because all things start as a tiny seed. And if you will start pursuing that, then it'll grow, and then it'll come to fruition. And it may sound cheesy, I don't know, but it's like sometimes we think, well, this is such a small little idea in my heart that maybe I should just throw it out. But if it never goes away and it just is always there, then I believe that that's what our calling is. That is where our journey is taking us, is to allow that seed to grow, so then we can help somebody else.
That's beautiful. And I don't think, like you said, you know, whatever people think, it's cliche or heard it. We wouldn't keep saying it if women would do these steps. We wouldn't keep saying it over and over in the same words. And I always think that repetition makes perfect. So if we keep repeating the same mantra to the world, like Rita and I doing today, the seed will take hold and it will grow. I totally believe in that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what's in store for you going forward, Rita?
Well, I think I might have mentioned, you know, that I want Coffee Talk to grow into a brand. And that is so scary in itself, because I really have no idea how to do this. So it's just one day at a time. I'm working on a book that tells my stories and has some signature recipes in it. And that's going slow, because there again, I didn't go to college to learn how to write. I don't have literature education, but I'm learning as I go. And that in itself is really scary, but I know that I have to do that. And it started as that little seed, you know, but it wouldn't go away, it wouldn't die like a weed. It just kept reverberating through my soul to start it. So I just did. And so who knows, a year from now, absolutely, who knows where I'll be.
So Rita may have a whole bunch more tattoos, another cafe, another fabulous idea, and probably written another 3 or 4 books by then.
That would be great, but you know.
There's only one of us. That's what I always say. As a solopreneur, there's one of us, and we have our community of helpers that help us with certain projects. But in the end, it comes down to your creativity and the ideas that you have that you want to develop.
True. It's very true.
So how can people reach you, Rita?
You can. I have a email, Rita@cafeparity.com. I'm working on a blog in a website for blogs, but that's not completed yet, so I can't give you that. But then, of course, there's always Facebook, The Journey.
The Journey?
The Journey / Rita Barney, or
okay.
Instagram, The Journey's Calling. So any of those, I would love to hear. Everybody that hears this, I would love to hear your story. And who knows, maybe I'll invite you to Coffee Talk and you can like tell your story at one of my meetings. I may be in your city, who knows?
Absolutely. So go on over and hit Instagram and like Rita's The Journey. What's it called? The Journey's Calling?
The Journey's Calling.
The Journey's Calling. So head on over to Instagram and like her page and follow. So
thank you.
So with that, Rita, thank you so much for being here on the show today. Your stories are incredible. And I, of course, follow you on Instagram and on Facebook as well. And I'm so happy that you were here today sharing your stories with everybody that's listening.
I loved our chat. Mwah.
Mwah. Ciao.